Hi everyone, my name is Rajeev. Today I've got me Sandeep, and
Hello.
we are basically just trying to analyze the information. So before we begin, just a small disclaimer that we don't claim to be any experts, but this is more of an analysis of the great knowledge that we have in Vedas. Whatever is small, we have understood. So maybe Sandeep, like we can start on the philosophy of Vedas. So I think Vedas obviously has a lot of wisdom, but one of the most fascinating term that I come across is about Adwet. So what do you think? Like what exactly is Advait? Because what I understand Advait is, it is more of a non-dualistic, where I'm saying that I am a person, but I'm not different than God. So we are not dual, we are just single. It's just that I have something in me which is connected to God, and in that way I'm also a manifestation of God, and I have godly qualities in me. So do you think that is the right understanding of Advait, or do you think there's something more to it?
So thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity, because firstly, I don't consider myself as a master in this subject. I'm just a seeker. For last 4 years, started reading a lot, because I thought, let me how to make this life beautiful, how to make this life happy. And when I analyzed myself deeply, I came to this conclusion that me as a person is made up of thoughts and my physical body. And thought is something which, according to me, is the software of this body. Mm-hmm. And I should try my best to purify these thoughts. I should try to replace all these bad thoughts and put it into the right perspective. So how do you do that? And then I had a Bhagavad Gita, sitting in my closet somewhere. So I just saw it and I started reading upon that. I turned pages by pages. Initially, I did not have any interest on that. And then I thought, like, let me just finish this off, because, you should not be judgmental in life. You should first get all these information.
Sorry to interrupt, but is that where you actually understood what is Advait? Or
so that's what I'm trying to get to. So because how does it help you in your life, right? I mean, why do you even ask this question? Why do I even ask this question? Why should I be a seeker? So when I started reading more and more on Gita, then I started realizing that, oh, you know what, there is more to this world, there's more to this reality than just, what is visible. And then I started, reading upon Vedas. And as, I don't know if you know, but they say, in Gita they say, iti guhyatamam shastravidam, which means this Gita is the concise form of Shastras, all the Shastras combined. And if you just read Gita, then it gives you information about all the Shastras. So now coming to a question about Advaitvad. So the point is, how do you separate the physical reality with the which consists of perceptions, which consists of feelings, with something which is beyond this, a reference point. As we all know, Einstein's theory, right? That in Einstein's theory, what they say is everything is done according to a certain reference point, but that reference point is also not itself fixed. They say it's an imaginary, because they don't know what the reference point is. And the reason they do it is because within the realm of time and space, you need a reference point. Even if you're going from point A to point B, you have a reference point. So the point is, so that is in the realm of the physical world. But if you want to transcend this physical world, you have to find a reference point which is fixed, not just imaginary. Because if you are having a relative reference point, then it means you are just still dwelling in the material reality. Mm-hmm. So as long as you are within this physical realm, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but as long as you are in the physical realm, you are in the material reality, you are in the dualistic nature. Mm-hmm. And the moment you start seeking the reality beyond the time and space, then you are in the realm of spiritual reality, which is called Advaitvad. The reason it's called Advaitvad is because Adwet is Adwet, non-duality. I am different and the reality is different. That's what, So the reference point is different. I'm not using the word God because when you bring God into conversation, it brings wrong connotations. People think that, you're having some kind of religious dogma, or you're just propagating your own theory. So that's why I'm not using that word. But this fixed reference point, some people call it God, but I just call it a reference point. That's basically the outside this dualistic nature, and to seek that reality is basically Advaitvad. To be one with that reality.
Okay. So,
non-dualism.
Right. So perhaps I think the question then arises is if that is Advaitvad, then are we then saying that maybe when you actually go into something like meditation where you try to actually relate with not supernatural but something that's beyond the physical realm, for example time and space dimension, in that case that actually is the beginning of starting to realize Advait, or is it not
right?
the case?
Right. So basically, what is meditation? Right. Meditation is non-doing. If you read any book, recently I read a book from Osho, and it's called Meditation. So what it says is, if you can't force meditation on you, meditation is non-doing. Now, what do you mean by non-doing? Non-doing is essentially lack of any activity. You are in such a relaxed state that you have no activity, not including your thoughts. To realize that theoretical state, it's what's called as meditation. And the culmination of that state is called Turiya, all those samadhi and all that. Samadhi is basically lack of any thought processes, right?
Situation.
So how does it relate to the Advaitvad? The question is how does it relate to the Advaitvad, right? Because, then there is this meditation, which is basically thoughtlessness, and then there is this Advaitvad, which is basically beyond time and space. So how do they relate, right? That's the question. So now you can see that within time and space, what happens is everything has a polarity. You say electron, protons, good, bad, women, men, all these kind of polarity is there. Again, polarity is dualism, right? So same thing goes on inside your head. When you are thinking, when you're having thoughts, a bad thought comes in and a good thought comes in. And as long as you are dwelling in that thought process, it is still, you are in the polarized world, you are not out of it. The moment you say thoughtlessness, it means that you are actually going above it, polarity. And that's why non-polarity is the same as Advaitvad, is same as meditative state.
Right. Okay. So
and
just take us
to add that point, mathematically, if you look at this concept, what happens is, as we both are engineers, the mathematical limit ends at 1 and 0. I mean, the 0 and infinity, right? Because the moment you try to... now, what happens is, as we know, as we are engineers, that if you try to do 1 divided by 0, it gives you infinity, which is basically just a symbol. It means science does not define infinity. So if you look at the algebraic equation, it's 1 by 0 equal to infinity, or 1 divided by infinity equal to 0. It means what? Even 0 is undefined. 0 is just a symbol, it's a mathematical approximation. So,
but some people will argue that that's not the case, because when we say 0, 0, right? It means nothing.
Nothing, yeah, basically nothing, right? So what is nothing? You can't, because nothing is basically absence of anything. Now you can't imagine that, You can't imagine that.
Right.
So that's where the science will end.
So basically you are saying, but then we still know what is in nothing, right? So, for example, we have space, which is basically containing, in theory, space may not have anything. But that is where we can say it is nothing, right? So
let's just look at it other way, Let's say if I give you a piece of paper, you keep dividing it. You first cut it into half, you keep dividing. Okay. Until nothing is left. Can you imagine that kind of scenario? It means you have to do infinite of those cuts. It means what? The moment you define infinity, you define 0, because To reach that infinite point, you have to reach zero. Or if you reach zero, you will reach infinite point. Going to meditation, okay, God is infinite. It permeates everything.
By God, you mean
by God means,
something.
the reality beyond this dualistic nature. It encompasses everything, because if it cannot be infinite. So how can you realize infinity? Your infinite nature. And forget about all of that, right? What is your basic nature? The basic nature of human being is to, free themselves up. This whole fight is about freeing yourself up. Freedom, whatever is going on in this world, right? So, how do you realize that infinite nature? Possibly, you can follow the speculative method which science does. You keep on going, you keep on doing research, but it's an infinite world out there. You possibly cannot reach that goal by scientific
physical
method.
law. So I think that's
so.
where
Just to add to that, just real quick, So either you can go the infinite way or you can go the zero way. Either way, you reach the same destination. Because even if you look at the concept of time warp, right? What happens? It's called the time warp from itself, meaning it's a spherical structure. If you reach point A, you will reach the point B because it's curved. So that's why what meditation tells you is, you realize that zero, infinite is impossible. You are in this physical world, you can't do that. But you can realize the 0 point by stopping all of your thoughts, reach the Turiya state or the Samadhi state, and from there you can realize this infinite world.
So basically, I think what Sandeep is saying is what we already have in Yogananda ji's book, that where the physical laws actually end, then the world where the spiritual laws actually exist, that actually starts, isn't it? So just as
right.
Sorry, maybe I'll rephrase it. What I'm trying to say is, where in a physical world you have physical laws, you have certain equation, and it will be followed, 2 plus 2 will always be 4. I think in a similar way, there is a separate spiritual context, and there are certain rules of that particular spiritual world, right? And those rules, if you follow, you can actually enlighten yourself in the spiritual context.
Right. Whatever makes you realize that beyond this duality, beyond this material world, is basically spirituality to me. People might have different concepts, and every single concept might be right, but at the end of the day, whatever makes you realize that reality is, to me, spiritual laws. Because as we talked about, science is going to end right there, 1 and 0. You can't possibly define that.
Right. So I think I'll come to the last question of this interesting discussion, which is basically we have so many religions in the world today, right? And every religion has different opinion or concept about the spirituality, or mainly on the God and those kind of stuff. So with due respect to all the religions, in terms of the Vedic context, how do we actually understand that? Because let's say I may be a person who will think that God and me are probably related. I am part of God or the Paramatman, like the Vedic wisdom. Or I may be someone who may want to say I want to worship idols, and that's where I see my God. The other person may actually say, no, God is somewhere who is sitting, who is separate to me, and I will worship Him in a formless manner. So, probably the word I use for the first concept about, the God is in me, it's a Vedic concept, but I think Vedic concept also allows us to believe in God in probably the material or rather in a form, like in idol and other stuff, because I think it says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. So in that case, is it correct to understand that in Vedic wisdom, this duality as well as non-duality is supported then?
Right, actually you're right, spot on that one. Because in Srimad Bhagavad, what they say is, Yen Ken Upayan Krishna Mana Nivashet, which basically means somehow, whatever means possible, realize, be one with Krishna. And Krishna is basically an abstract concept of this spiritual reality, as I don't again want to use the word God because it brings different connotations, but so whatever means is possible. In Swami Vivekananda's famous Chicago address, as we all know, he said that all paths leads to thee. No matter what path you follow, you will end up there. It might take you more time or less time, but you will end up there. So, in terms of Vedic context, as you asked, Veda says the same thing. As we said earlier, Bhagavad Gita, which is a concise form of all Shastras, as they say, Iti Guyatamam Shastravidam. This Gita is the concise form of all the Shastras combined. So, in it they talk about different paths to God. One is a Bhakti Yoga, one is a Karma Yoga, one is a Jnana Yoga. And they say Krishna says all these paths lead to Thee. So what is Karma Yoga? Basically, Karma Yoga says that it's something similar to Newton's third law, which says that every action has equal and opposite reaction. Whatever you do, you got to bear the fruits of that. Until you bear all the fruits, you cannot escape this material reality, this dualism. And it kind of makes sense to me, because if I move the chair, it will move. If I apply force, it's going to move. So every action is an equal and opposite reaction. So in Karma Yoga, what they say is you offer all of your work to God. That way, you are not attached with the reality. Because now you might have to go a little bit deeper into this concept. The whole concept is when you do certain activity, if you do any activities, it leaves an imprint on your mind.
Yeah.
It leaves an imprint on your mind. Every single activity you do. The bad activities leave a bad imprint on your mind, as we call sanskars. The good one will be a good one, and you are basically end up being caught into that. So by offering it to God, whoever you believe in, not even God, deity. By offering to a deity, you don't get attached to it, because you think I'm not doing anything. It's the deity that is doing it, and you escape the fruits and the results and all the miseries that come with it. Now, Bhakti Yoga, total surrender to Yoga, because what they do is you are surrendering to this one reality. You are not
it's more like an unquestioned
faith.
Some belief which you believe that maybe, right?
Right.
And that's probably Bhakti Yoga.
Right. Because at the end of the day, if you think, both are detaching you from whatever you're doing.
Right. So, and there is one more Jnana Yoga. So
Jnana Yoga, right? So Bhakti, you offer everything to God. Karma, you then there is Jnana Yoga. So essentially what happens is, I'm a very skeptical guy, okay? I don't believe in any of these books, for example. Why do I believe in God? I mean, I'm a technical person. I don't believe in anything. Give me the proof, like Vivekananda. So, for those people who are very skeptical, who are, by nature, they don't trust anything, to get them involved into bhakti, what do? You first convince them, If I want to sell you an iPhone, what do? I tell you what are good things in iPhone, right? Then you will buy iPhone. Same thing. You first say, okay, you know what? Read up these books, read up these, scriptures, find out yourself if they make sense. The only problem with that is, as Krishna has suggested in Bhagavad Gita, that Bhakti Yoga is better, has a higher chance of success, easier than the Jnana Yoga, because in Jnana Yoga what you do is you take the responsibility of your synthesizing the purity, you're reaching the ultimate destination on yourself. And the moment you start realizing all these nice qualities in you, so-called siddhis, when you go up the ladder, it inflates your ego. And inflating the ego, especially spiritually, kills the whole purpose, because ego is basically duality.
Right. So that probably reminds you of the dialogue that great power comes with great responsibility. So if you get some siddhis and start misusing it, then probably it's not the right thing to do. And I think that's one thing. And secondly, like if you actually get stuck with the ahankar or pride, or I've got this siddhi, then what will probably happen is you'll stop progressing further, because you think, I've got this materialistic thing. Let me use this to show off. And that was excellent, Sandeep. I think we'll conclude this particular discussion. So just as an ending note, I would like to say that I hope you enjoyed this discussion. As you made it clear in the very outset, This is not some authoritative discussion. Probably we have got better gurus and more learned people on that. We are more like seekers of knowledge, and this was analysis. I mean, please put your comments in the comments section below of the video, and we'd like to respond. And we do apologize if there has been any incorrect information on this particular video. But basically the idea was to just do a quick brainstorming of various concepts that we have understood. And we, as they say, Vedas are so vast and so much full of wisdom that it may take many lives actually to actually understand even a small part of that. I hope this discussion was good and interesting to you. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Hare Krishna.
Namaste.